Hi, everybody. Good morning. Lauren Bayley here, Fraser Bayley of EvolvingAlpha.com.
Hey guys, what's going on?
If this is your first time catching one of our videos, we are plant-based transformation specialists. This is Zia Bayley, and we help people transform their lives using plant-based nutrition, smart physical training, and a growth mindset. And we have a 1-year-old now.
And as soon as she knows we're videoing, she starts getting crazy.
She has been playing on her mat down here quietly.
Right? Let me share this quickly.
As Fraser was getting ready, and as soon as we sat down in front of the computer, she just starts going wild. She's like, nope, I want to climb on top of this little sofa, and I want to do all the things and get into all the trouble. So if this is your first time with one of our videos, welcome. And if you're watching the replay, welcome as well. Today we're talking about 4 workout strategies for beginners to achieve massive transformation. And if you are serious about achieving a transformation, becoming a better version of yourself, getting in better health and better fitness, better shape, and if you want to do that with a plant-based lifestyle, then just go over to EvolvingAlpha.com, enter your name and email there. We have a 5-video series that right now is for free. It is not going to be available much longer, so take advantage of that. Grab that. It has a lot of valuable lessons in there, and you'll get our emails, which Fraser puts a ton of value into those emails, and we'll be sending out some of these workout strategies to the email as well. So check that out there.
Yes.
And so why are we talking about these workout strategies today? Well, we're talking about that because if you want to get in better health, if you want to, improve your health overall, if you want to achieve better fitness with the way that you look, all of these things, if you want to have better performance throughout your day, like in your job, with your family, all of these things, you're going to have to incorporate exercise in some way, shape, or form. That's the only way that you can get the best level of fitness for your body that enables you to act during the day, that enables you to, get on the floor, play with your babies, that enables you to have endurance during the day in your job, especially if you have a physical job, then you've got to be in good shape. So it's important, and beginners typically feel overwhelmed. So we actually have some questions as far as what we're going to be addressing today from one of the members of our Plant Strong Fitness group, which is a free group on Facebook. You can check that out as well. And sometimes when we get a big question that we know can help a lot of people, or if it's kind of in depth with the response, it's easier for us to come to a video. Look at this one. It's like a little monkey back here.
And where's the points?
I'm going to pull them up in a second. So, all right, let's get started. Like I said, if you want to check out Plant Strong Fitness, just type that in the little search bar of Facebook. You'll find the free group.
Yeah.
You do have to answer questions so that we know you're a real person and you're actually interested.
The reason why we want to touch on this, guys, is because what we find is that a lot of people who are either beginners or have started at some point and then just stopped, typically will do a lot of things that are not really that beneficial or advantageous when it comes to making progress. So there's a couple of core key fundamentals that people tend to miss or overlook or neglect. And they do lots of little things, and it doesn't accumulate to a lot of results. And so they get frustrated, burned out, and then we quit and we look for the next best thing, right? So how often is that a scenario in your life or someone else that you've seen, when in actuality there's some core principles that we're going to talk about in this video? So,
and a lot of people don't even begin just because they don't have the confidence. So hopefully by answering some of these questions that were asked, we're going to give you guys a little bit more confidence to get started.
Look at her peeking. She's like, hey, what's going on? What's going on? Look at you. Hey. Look at that little face. She's a terror. So the first question. Or do you wanna ask it and then we can just give?
Okay. So the first question that this person asked, she's a beginner or a beginner. I love to refer.
Goodness gracious.
My phone's buzzing on the table. I love to refer to a beginner as well, because so many people go through that process where they did something for a little while, but they stopped, and it's been a really long time, and so now basically they feel like a beginner again. And sometimes that's even harder because they feel like they want to be where they were before when they left off. And so that holds them back from starting it all because they don't want to start from ground zero again.
Yeah.
So her first question was, how do I group exercises together
and so
as a beginner?
So what does she mean by that question?
Like, do I do back and buys? Do I do, upper body, lower body? How would you base things for a beginner?
So, it depends on the person's goal, obviously. But I think early on, the best option or the best route is typically like full body or upper body, lower body combinations. Pretty much, in my observation, the more muscle groups that you can train in tandem together, the more of a caloric expenditure you will create. Basically, what that means in layman's terms is you'll create more of an energy deficit, fat loss. And also, it tends to create more of an anabolic muscle building response. So typically for most people, full body or upper body, lower body, back and forward tends to be the best. You'll have a lot of people who might go straight into like just training arms or just training chest or just training hamstrings. And while there's a time and place to do those individual things, those muscle groups in isolation are not going to create a very quick response. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think for beginners, a good way to start is either like upper body and lower body, or front of the body, back of the body, which is a little bit more challenging for a beginner to grasp, like what muscles are front of the body and back of the body. But I tend to recommend like one of those two types of things because, and this will kind of segue into one of the other questions, is how often should I lift? In my personal opinion, when you're beginning, you want to create a lifestyle out of this, and you want this to become the way that you live and the person that you are. You are someone who exercises and trains consistently. And so I personally would recommend do it every day.
Yeah, in some capacity.
Yes, that could mean, like, I am totally fine with 10 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day to get started. I'm totally fine. I've done this myself in the past. Just to do something every day, I would have a pair of dumbbells out in the living room, and it might be I do 20 bicep curls one day, and then the next day I do 20 shoulder presses. That's it. And that's totally fine because what that does is it builds the habit of you doing that, and you think of yourself as someone who works out every day, which is going to affect all of your other lifestyle habits, things that you choose to put in your mouth, how you deal with stress, just how you think of yourself as a person. Yeah. And that's super important.
One of the important things that I encourage our clients to focus on is that if you have to sometimes do things not for the intention of getting the result. And it sounds so counterintuitive. So like Lauren was saying, you're not going to see significant results doing 20 shoulder presses and then, 20 of this every day. But what you're trying to do there is develop the habit. You're trying to cultivate routine, and you're trying to start to get consistent with that habit, because then once it's consistent in your life, that's when you can start to escalate it and build on it. See, a lot of people, what they'll do is, unless it gives them some kind of like immediate result, they get dissatisfied, and that just leads to inconsistency. And nothing will slow down your result more than you being inconsistent. So what we'll often train people to do is I'll say, look, I'm telling you to do X, Y, Z, not because it's going to get you a significant result next month, but I need you to start to get consistent with those habits so we can build on them to then get you the result. So that's really, really important, guys. And so when it comes to, how should you alternate
I'm talking about how often.
How often. Like, honestly, consistency is everything. And so like there's two different perspectives to this. Like Lauren was saying, doing something every day in terms of some form of movement, I think is really, really important. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're still a beginner, but you've been doing it for a little bit, but you're not really seeing results, sometimes what you need to do is, rather than just trying to do everything, there's people that have come to us as beginners and they're doing all the yoga, all the pump classes, they're doing all the spin classes, they're doing some cardio in the afternoon, then they're doing a circuit training in the morning, and they're doing a CrossFit class, and they're like, I'm not seeing any changes. And it's so much stress and extra burden on the body, right? Look at her. And my whole thing is, if you're in that place where you're doing a lot as a beginner, but you're sort of just feeling burned out and not seeing changes, what sometimes you need to be doing is less with more intention. So what I get our people to do, depending on if they're a little bit older and they can't handle the same training volume anymore, or if they have a lot of time constraints, might train 3 or 4 days a week. But when they get in there, it's very, very intentional about what they're meant to be doing. And so what they're doing is they'll train one day and then they'll rest the next day and recover. Train, recover, back and forth. So it really depends on, as a beginner, where you are at in that sort of beginner journey. So
yeah, like for example, if you have like a job that doesn't allow you to do a workout every day, if you set a schedule of like, okay, I'm going to do 3 days a week, then just try that out and see how it works for you. Again, keep it short, keep it manageable, be very intentional about what you're doing in that time. But if you find that by stopping a day and then starting a day and then stopping a day and starting a day, you don't get your 3 days in, then you need to rethink that strategy. If that works for you, then fine. But if it doesn't, rethink it into kind of what we talked about as far as creating that habit of doing something every day.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other questions is, should I alternate muscle groups on different days? So we kind of touched on this with the first question of how to group exercises, but we'll go into it a little bit more here. So on a basic level, yes, you do want to alternate muscle groups on different days because, for example, if you are training every single day, you don't want to hit the same muscle groups over and over and over again. Sometimes you can get away with it as a beginner because you may not be training hard enough to get super sore, but at the same time, as a beginner, any little thing is going to make you a little bit sore. So you don't want to hit the same muscle groups over and over again and just keep tearing down your muscles and not giving them recovery time.
Yeah.
Because your muscles grow during recovery. They don't grow during the workout. So it's important that they have that recovery time in between.
And, obviously what I would be doing is every session that you're doing, you want to start, or you want the primary focus to be some kind of compound lift, I think. And so sometimes you will be trained.
What is a compound lift?
So a compound lift, like for beginners, obviously it's a good question, is it's a lift that you're using multiple joints at once. So like a joint, as in like your elbow joint, knee joint, hip joint, ankle joint, wrist joint. So isolation movements is just one thing at once. So like if you're doing a bicep curl, that's just your elbow. So that's an isolation movement. Whereas if you're doing a bench press, it's your shoulder, your wrist, and your elbow. So it's a compound movement. Typically what you'll find is that compound movements will yield better rapid transformation changes when done in the right context. So even though you might be, trying to rest your triceps from doing some shoulder pressing, now it's time to do chest pressing, that's okay. Sometimes there will be crossover because you have to use the same muscle groups to some extent, but I would definitely be trying to prioritize some kind of compound lift in every session as your main focus as much as possible.
All right. Other questions. Let's see. So we basically have one question left. Any sites, apps, posts you can also direct a beginner to? I'm also hoping to maximize weight loss, so maybe we'll touch on that too. So as far as apps and things like that, don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
As a beginner, don't overcomplicate the process. Like a notebook and a pen is enough to just write down, because you want to keep it simple. Like you might just be doing in a workout for your lower body day, you might do some body weight squats, you might do a couple of body weight lunges, some hip thrusters from the floor, and what's one other thing you would do? Some deadlifts. Little body weight deadlifts or dumbbell deadlifts, something simple.
And I would just say that the best resource to figure out even just how to do those simple things is YouTube, just to start with. Just search how to do a deadlift.
Actually, also, if you go on Instagram at Evolving Alpha Demos, we have a demo channel that has some exercise instructional little tutorials, like a video of us demoing it, and then some bullet points as far as cues for that. So you can check those out as well.
Yeah. And so, just getting down the form with the basic movements is the most important thing. People will often want to complicate things by getting all the apps and all the training plans, and they're just not ready and they're not consistent enough to implement them. So very often you just need to get your form down to start with, so YouTube can be a very good resource for that. Is there anything else you wanted to close out with before she starts having a tantrum?
So this person was hoping to focus maximizing weight loss. So let's touch on that real quickly. As a beginner, you're going to be able to achieve really great things So that's like the beginner's luck. Okay, when you first get started, your body's going to respond, and you are going to, if your body's in a relatively healthy state. You want something?
Yeah.
So you're going to be able to build muscle and burn fat a little bit at the same time in the beginning. Don't get spoiled by that; it won't last forever. But you, oh my goodness! Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Look at that baby. Look at that cute baby. Yeah. Don't make that baby cry. So do you need to do anything special for weight loss? No, not in the form of everybody thinks, oh, I need to do more cardio because I'm trying to lose weight. No, do your strength training because that is going to build the muscle that you need, that will increase your metabolism, that is going to keep your body and your hormone systems and everything functioning in the most optimal, healthy way. That's going to enable you to lose fat and stay lean continuously, long-term as a lifestyle. And then you never have to go through that yo-yo cycle.
Yeah.
So that's what I just wanted to add there.
Yeah, I mean, that's important. I think it's just important to remember that early on you'll see rapid changes just by getting active. And then obviously as you progress, you'll need to change things. You'll have to improve the diet, get more of a grasp on your calorie consumption, clean your diet up more, change some of your lifestyle variables. Because as basically what will happen is your body will maximize based on the stimulus, and then it will get to a point where it just kind of plateaus. And that's when you have to keep adapting and pushing and adapting and pushing. So it's all part of the process, essentially. Did you want to close out with anything else?
Yes. So if you are a beginner or if you're just confused about how to structure your workouts,
I think most people
type of thing,
are confused.
Yeah. Make sure, go to evolvingalpha.com, evolvingalpha.com, put your name and email in there to get on our email list. If you're already on our email list, fantastic.
Because I put out emails all the time.
What we'll do is we're going to send out to our email list. We'll probably do it tomorrow or the next day just to give people a chance who watch this on replay to get on the email list. We're going to send out a little simple formula for you guys to follow to how to put together your beginner workouts.
Yes. So I'll be writing that. I'll be sending it
there.
out soon. All right, guys. Have an awesome day.
Have an awesome day. We'll see you later.
Bye.
Later, alligator. Say bye.